The great privilege of being a writer for several years is that I am surrounded by other writers. And so we talk about writerly things. And honestly, those friendships keep me going when the writing gets tough, when the writing is challenging. They tell me to keep going, and I do. And lately I was talking with one of those dear friends, Keri Mangus, who is the author of Embodying Soul, A Return to Wholeness, about how writing is not a luxury. Writing is something that we need to do, we writers, and that we're writing for our lives.
I'm Amy Hallberg, author, editor, and writing mentor. And these are conversations with real-life creatives on how we find and embody our voices. Because if you want to be a real-life creative, it helps to know what that looks like for you. Welcome to Courageous Wordsmith.
So, Keri, here we are.
Yay, I'm so glad to be back.
We were going to talk and things kept coming up. You had puppies to take care of, and there are colds and there are holidays, but
Yes.
We knew it was important to get here. So
Yes, so I do apologize if I sound a little scratchy yet, but I am on the mend after about a week with some kind of flu. Keeps us humble.
right. But that's part of the creative process, right? Like even when, sometimes we have to rest. Sometimes we get sidelined. Sometimes we kind of find a way through it, and it might not have been the way we expected, but good things can come out of that. Yeah.
Well, I dream differently when I'm sick.
Do you?
I do. And so I find that, yes, while I'm not sitting down at my computer writing when I'm feeling like this, there's always something churning. There's always a part of me. If it's not my physical body, then it's my subtle body or my energetic body or my dream body. But some part of me is always continuing to kick the can down the road in some way, shape, or form.
And then what does that do for you? Like those dreams, what comes out of those dreams for you?
Oh, well, it can be lately, to be really honest, lately it's been a lot of dreams that have been sort of telling me, and this is really interesting because of what we're going to talk about today, dreams that have been telling me, Keri, you don't have to write this book. There are other things you can do. You could just be a puppy mom, as you mentioned. You could just join some golf clubs. You could, do this or that. And so it's been creating this voice in my head that I've had to sort of wrestle with these last weeks, which is, okay, let's go back again to why I want to write a second book, because you and I both know that it's one thing to say, I want to write a book, or even I'm going to write a book. And it's
Right.
another thing to actually go through that process. So I think there's a part of my brain that's like, in order to get another finished book out, we're going to have to go through a shitty first draft.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of energy. And now I know this better because it's the second time around.
Right.
And yet when I sit and I wrestle with this voice, I go, but I can't not. And that's coming out of our talk today. This, if I don't write, which is an option, I don't.
It's always an option. Nobody has to write.
Absolutely. And my book is not that important. I mean, I can try to tell myself that it's that important, but in the scheme of things, but it is that important to me, to my soul, to my growth, to my journey, to my longevity even.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because so yesterday I had, I am in the thick of fairly final revisions on my book. Like it's not the last pass, right? But we're really getting down to does this need to be here, or was this just something that needed to hold a place until it came into where it needed to be, right? We're cutting a lot of stuff, right? And we found this chapter that it was a lot of stuff, but it was like, but where's the heart of it? And then we realized, the heart of it is over here. So like bringing those two things together, integrating them, and then lining up here's the story that happened. What are we meant to make of it? What's the point? Right. And I had all day yesterday. It's a funny thing, Keri, because when I am supposed to be writing, it's like the universe will just drop things out of my calendar for me. you'll have to take care
Mm.
of your puppies, or something will happen. The people will be like, oh, excuse me, do you mind if we delay? And I'm like, no, because this is the universe telling me go right. So I had the whole day to do it. And yet, if you look in the background now, like people who are listening to this won't see this, but you can see that I got a paint swatch back there,
Hmm.
because what I did yesterday, and I've done this long enough to know that this is just a thing that I do. Yesterday, I played with versions of alternate whites I could paint my white wall,
Yes.
rather than do the work of revising, because it's gonna be, it's like you have to armor up. It's like I have to give
Yes.
my little child inside me permission to just play with the paint swatches
Just
for several
play.
hours, and then I worked hard, but first we play.
Yes, I think that that's, creativity, when we were children, creativity was just about fun. We did it for play. And so if creativity is only, yeah, if it's always, okay, I got to put my butt in the chair. Like I did a talk a few weeks back where I was talking about, where does creativity originate from? Does it originate from, and I'm going to use these terms, yin and yang, which is
Mhm.
basically yin is feminine aspects and yang is masculine. And, a lot of the advice about writing, if you really look at it, it comes from a very young perspective, right? Set a time, get your butt in the chair, do it every day. It's very rigid, very masculine, very hard, very unforgiving.
Mm.
But my perspective on creativity is that for it to be true and authentic, it has to come more from a yin place, which is much more unstructured and much
Mm.
more, about our willingness to say, pull over in the car because we've got a great idea and we got to get it down. And this is when
Mhm.
we're going to write. And it wasn't when we were expecting to, but this is
Mhm.
when it's happening. This is when the muse has shown up. I
Mhm.
think it's a dangerous job to get into trying to dictate our muse and say, I need
Mm.
you to show up at 10 o'clock on Mondays. It sounds great.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think creativity is more something where it's like you're following a flow, and sometimes you'll know when the time is right to
Mm.
just, yep, I'm in the chair now from 10 to noon or whatever it is.
Right.
There comes a time for that. But I think if we don't have that yin unstructured playtime too, we
Mm.
lose half because yin and yang are two halves of a whole.
Well, and as you say that, and I'm thinking about when I started working with mentors at the Loft Literary Center, the first thing they did was sit us down and go, "What are you going to do to play? What are you going to do to, like? What are the other things you're going to do other than just write?" For me, I think it comes down to I have to show up. So I will schedule times, but if that time falls through, then reschedule it. Right? Like
Yes.
it's not going to happen at, okay, when's the next available window? And the other thing that helps me is there's a whole lot I can do, but I've identified the next simple step. I just want to
Mm,
do this one thing. And oftentimes I will sit down and I'll end up doing something else, but I had an agenda and I could have done that one simple thing. And sometimes I get that one simple thing done because it really just is, like this chapter, we're revising the book. We can't move on to the chapter, end of chapter 6, move into chapter 7 until I get the end of chapter 5 done. It has to happen. So
right.
sometimes, like you said, um, we're moving through the book and it needs to flow. You have to do what's in front of you, but you can work with it, right? Like I think it's not yin or yang, as you say, but it's the balance
It's the
of them.
play of the 2 of them. Yeah, exactly
Mm-hmm.
what you're describing, that, I've got this time, but if something else arises, I am willing to move. I'm not going to force myself. That really, to me, is exactly the personification of art using both the yin and the yang side of our nature.
Mm. So why do you have to write this book, Keri? I mean, you say that it's a matter of
Oh,
your soul needing to do it, but why?
yes. Well, there is a magic that happens. There is an aliveness that happens in my body when something is expressed on the page exactly the way I want to express it. That it holds the emotion, that it holds the truth, that it represents me. There's just nothing that makes me feel happier and more joyful than just getting
Mm.
that right arrangement of words. And that doesn't happen in the first draft.
No, it
And
doesn't.
it might not happen in the second or the third.
Mm-mm.
It just takes so much play, but I think, um, I have to do that because I haven't found anything else in my life that gives me that kind of sense of, mm, it's like purpose and duty, but it's not that hard. It's my purpose and it's my duty, but it's also my joy and my gift, and it is what I have to offer.
And I
It
wish that people could see. I mean, so you are a yoga person, but you were for a long time a yoga instructor, right? But I
Yes.
wish people could see, like, as you're describing this, and this is not just something you always do, but as you're describing this, your hands are almost in these like these dance moves. They're
Mhm.
flowing like to illustrate what you're saying. And when I land a chapter, when like not when I've got, there's a feeling like, okay, I'm done. And my head will say I'm done. But I know I'm not done because my body is not saying I'm done. I know I'll have to come back to that piece. But when I've really landed, there are songs going on in my head. I'm doing the dance moves. Like, I took dancing lessons when I was a kid, but I am not a dancer. But all the dance moves come back, right? Like, and you're like, like it comes out. You know it. You feel it.
You
It's,
know it. That's the
uh-huh.
thing. There's that knowing, that moment when you're like, "That's it. I am not touching that." It, you know,
Mhm.
um, there is something so magical about when that happens, and it just feels like, I don't know, when I used to teach yoga, there was a sense of
Mhm.
completion when I finished a yoga
Mm.
class. And there had
Mhm.
been, because what is yoga to me? It is a dance, it is
Mhm.
movement from one shape to the next to the next. And so at the end of it, it's this beautiful choreographed piece that, at least with my classes, they were never going to see that exact arrangement again. And there's just
Mm.
something about that last moment together where you're just savoring the beauty of what you've created. And I don't teach yoga anymore for a variety of reasons, but this writing, well, one of the reasons being, I think, was that I needed to become a writer.
Mhm.
And I have reached that same state of completion with writing. I know what that feels like. And so
Mhm.
there's that quest for the perfect verb, the
Mhm.
quest for the perfect, um it is one thing to know something is true inside ourselves, and then it is another to see it reflected on the page in such a way that others will feel that same truth. Does that make sense? It,
It does, and
mm,
yet at the same time, I mean, so like I was thinking as you were describing this, I was thinking of, those little sand mandalas that are totally meant to be experienced
yes,
and then washed away,
yes.
deconstructed. And that's true of our writing. Even when our stories get out there are people who will read it and their experience of the dance, their interaction with it, because there is a relationship between the reader and what is read. Their experience of that will not be our experience. And they will think that they're having our experience. They will
Mm,
think that they're relating to us, but they are not, because they are projecting their own dance onto the words that we put out there.
mm. And that in itself is such beauty that our words can shapeshift
Mm-hmm.
as they sit in front of somebody else. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
what a gift this is to get to do. And unlike a yoga class, my words on a page will outlive me. And so
Mm.
there's a legacy aspect to writing that just isn't present in some other types of creativity. And yes, you're right. Not all of our writing will survive us. A lot of it, we hope it doesn't. A lot of it, we hope nobody
Please
will
don't read.
take. We don't want it to. But that which we do publish, to think that, my grandchildren, my great grandchildren could one day pull these things up and connect to me in that way. How is that not just extraordinary? And how is that not just life giving?
Well, that's an experience that you're talking about now. You published your book. I remember this because it was right around my birthday, my
Mm,
50th birthday, right before the pandemic.
yes.
So we literally had this beautiful party. The food was beautiful, the room was beautiful, the reading was beautiful. You had me pulling some oracle cards, and that was a ton of fun for me. It was just this great
Yeah.
evening where it's like, wow, it was very, very heady and exciting. And then it was like, okay, now go home.
Yep. I got shut down.
So, right. And my book, likewise, you were at my book launch. It was this very, very culminating moment. And then I went and I hid. Like it was actually in 2 years before that, in 2018, by the time we got to yours, I was finally like, okay, I think I'm ready to talk about my book now. I think one of the things I want to say is there is becoming an author, and then there is living into the experience of being an author. And it takes a little bit to be okay with the fact that people are going to bring your story back to you and they're going to reinterpret it to you,
Mm-hmm.
and to let them have that and not feel an obligation to them because of a story you put out that you gave to them. Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, and it isn't our responsibility
Hmm.
to shape how other people perceive our work. In fact, it that is that letting a book go out into the world is not unlike sending children out into the world. And at some point, the book is living its own life.
Right.
And so it's going to have its own journeys and its own connections. And at some point, it has less and less to do with me as an individual. It's taken
Right.
on a life of its own, just like, your children, my children.
Oh, those children, they were exhausting and we put our love into them. And when we go out, we trust that they're okay. And sometimes they're going to come back to us and they're going to need things from us. And when they do, we welcome them with open arms
Mm.
and we feed them probably more joyfully than we ever did in our lives before. Like, I don't know if it's like this for you now, but it's like, can I feed you something? As
Oh,
opposed
I
to
know.
crap, I gotta feed you something, right? Like it's this different thing. We love them. God love them. Go live your life. Go see where it's going to take you, you
Yep,
know?
and that's what we want to do with our work too. I wrote for a long time for an online publication where one of the things that we were encouraged to do was to comment to back to any commenters on our posts. So if we wrote a post
Mm.
and we published it and then someone commented on it, we were very much encouraged to respond and to keep a dialogue going.
To increase engagement.
That's primarily what's the point. But as a writer, as a creator, I eventually got burnt out at doing that, because what you don't want to get sucked into doing as a writer is defending your work or
Right.
explaining your work or getting into arguments about your work with people online. I think it is soul sucking and it keeps you from working on the next piece.
Yeah.
So at some point, I just had to say, I can't write anymore if this is the expectation, because I mean, I'll engage once or twice. That's fine. Thank you. Or yes, I appreciate that comment. It's not that I ignore comments, but I don't have all afternoon to go back and forth in a debate about something with somebody. It's just, that is a waste of my life force energy.
Hmm. I mean, and I think that's why um, it's not exactly the same thing. But when I've worked with people and I work with people once or twice, they're like, "Oh, I want to write a book," and then they would hire me to coach them on it. And then the second, it was fairly predictable. Like the second one would trigger something because you know what, writing is triggering.
Mm, isn't it though?
I'm fully on board. I'm going to do this, and then a month in, and they just sort of have an excuse. Oh, I promise I'll get back, and they'll drop, right?
Mhm.
And what I've realized is I'm not interested in that. What I'm interested in is let's create a space where I'm working with people with whom I'm in relationship. So if somebody is part of my community, then I know them. I see them. I'm not spending all that time investing in getting to know them only for them to fall off the radar. We're building a relationship so
Yes.
that when they get scared, we're building a relationship. Our books will scare us. That actually means good things. It's a good thing when your book scares you. Then you take a step back and go, whoa, what is scaring me? And you dig on deep and there's some sort of beautiful little gem there. But I'm not interested in working with somebody, they get scared off and I have to go and like, is it all right? No, 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 no. Let's create a relationship then.
I mean, I was just listening to one of the latest podcasts by Glennon Doyle, the We Can Do Hard Things. And I think they said in it, if you're not bleeding, then I don't want to read it. If you're not sitting down at the page and literally opening a vein,
Okay, I
then
don't need that, but I want you to be invested. I want you to
yeah,
show up.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And it should scare us. I mean, it might even petrify us. And what I think we find, at least this has been my experience, is the things that you're so afraid to share with the public are exactly the things that people resonate with and connect with and are most grateful for.
Mhm.
I have found that time and time again that the paragraph I almost took out, the chapter I almost didn't write, the article that scared me is the one that does the most work in the world.
And I would say too, happy memories scare us as well.
Mm,
Like it could be really hard memories or painful memories or poignant memories or whatever. It doesn't just have to be happy memories can also trigger you because do you want to tell people that you're that happy and share something that you love that much? Like it's a precious thing, right? So you can actually have and I've done this many times, like something, a really great experience or a really good thing that happened that really was precious to you, and then a vulnerability hangover afterwards.
mm.
Because again, you exposed yourself too much and it can be a lot,
Well,
right?
and guilt can get wrapped up into that too. I mean, it's a rare thing to be totally blissfully happy, and there's so many things in this world to be concerned over and worried about that sometimes you can feel guilty just being blissfully happy about something too. Yeah, maybe we do just want to kind of hold it to ourselves and not share it.
And that's our culture.
Mm,
Right? You have to earn your right to feel your emotions. You have to earn your right to feel bad. So when people talk about like I had a hard time happening, and then they sort of like they're sharing with it, but then they sort of qualify it and they take it back. Oh, but first world problems, and I think,
exactly.
does it harm the people in the third world that you're having a hard day and that you're honest about it?
Right. Right. Well, joy is not a pie. Happiness is not a
What?
pie.
Right.
It's not, I mean, we live in this society where we're taught zero sum, right? That if you have
Mhm.
some, that means I don't. And that's just not, that's a false belief. That is
Mhm.
something that we have got to, you know, uh, just vanquish that belief entirely. And this is true about the process of creativity as well. I mean, we believe that creativity is a pie and only some people get to access it. Only some people are artists. Only some people are writers.
Only some people's story is hard enough or interesting enough to tell,
Yes. Yeah.
or
And
worthy
so,
of telling, or famous enough, or whatever enough.
right. But yet, here's the thing. Can you imagine? And this is like my most important question right now. Can you imagine a society of people who were all in their own creativity? And it's not all going to be writers. It's not all going to be painters. Whatever it is. Sometimes it takes a lot of creativity to have a good hard conversation. It takes
Mm,
creativity to hold a family together, to build a female friendship. There's creativity
mhm,
involved with all of these things. Our
mhm,
creativity might take all kinds of different, it might look differently on different people. But if we were all in our creativity and trusted ourselves as creative beings, it's hard for
mhm.
me to imagine that this world wouldn't be a little bit better for that.
Yeah. So what's coming to mind is how I was trained. We're going to have a contest. We're going to have a contest. Everybody draw their best pictures, and then we'll pick the best one, and then that one will become the one that, right? And I even like remember like I drew a picture. The little girl next to me like, let me see your picture. No, you're going to copy me. And she's like, no, I won't. And then she did copy me. And except like hers was better. And I was so angry. And I should have been angry. Like the way it's set up, that was crappy, right? But what would have happened if it was like, we're all going to do this and we're going to copy each other and then we're going to but not to one up each other, right? But we're going to take from Keri, you did this really cool thing. And I want to do something like that as well. Going back to your book launch, I was listening to you talk and the things you were saying, and I was like, they felt so fully part of what I believed. And yet at the same time, I knew that when I met you, I didn't know about half of that stuff, right?
Mhm.
Like you taught me those things and I was like, yeah. And then I thought about them and then I evolved on them and I sort of riffed on them. And what's my version of that? And how do I reflect that? So wouldn't it be amazing if we were taught that actually the point is to yes and with each other, like they talk about in improv, where the creativity is we're going to create stuff together. oh my gosh, you did that? I love that. And not, oh, I could never do that. Sure, because it's not my style. I love that for you. That is amazing. And also, here's a thing I've done. Wow, that's great too. Here's another thing. Yeah, that's not so good, but let's keep trying. I don't like it. It hasn't landed yet. I'm not getting like, wouldn't that just be a different thing than somehow we have to justify whether we're worthy or not and measure it by who wins the award?
Oh, I mean, what you're talking about right now is its own podcast because this idea that we're all supposed to, if we're going to create, it has to come from us only, some kind of
Mm,
original creation. And we don't want to, yeah, we can't look outside to get it. That's not true. So much of creativity is about looking at what others do and what already has come before us. I think Mark Twain said that there's nothing in this world that is original. Everything is a little piece of this and a piece of this, and everything lives in the collective consciousness. And all we're doing is just rearranging it into something unique. And I think if we can understand that, then we can free ourselves up to do exactly what you're saying. Get inspired by looking at what other people are doing and not feeling like that's cheating or
mm,
stealing, but it's
mm.
just a source of information. And yeah, there's no way I can draw that flower the same way, but I like how you did it in these color palettes, and I'm going to play with those same color palettes. And
Mhm.
that's not, I mean, there is an issue with copyright. There is an issue with, you know, stealing people's work. That's not what we're
Right.
talking about here. We're
No.
talking about understanding that we're all connected and using the resources around us. This is why writers have to read
Mhm. Yes.
constantly.
Please read. Find out
Yeah.
what you don't like too. Like find out the writing you don't like. Don't use it to humiliate the author, but do use it to make sure you don't do those things. If you don't like it, don't do it.
Well, and I know that when I sit down to write now, that there are things that I'm doing that have been shaped by people that I've read
Mm,
that I couldn't identify anymore. Why I, use a certain phrase or why I don't know, have a certain melody to a sentence. There's, part of writing is the melody, right? It's got to sound good to the ear as you're going through it. There's certain melodies that I really like in other people's writing, and I'm sure
mhm.
on some level I'm replicating some of my favorite melodies.
Oh, of course. Of course.
Hmm.
And I think it's just it's credit where due.
Yes.
Um, I was having a conversation with somebody um, after I'd done some volunteer work, and then afterwards we were discussing sort of like, debriefing. And I was talking about how I really love this idea of how can we give more credit to everybody. Thanks to this person for doing this thing. Thanks for this. And like it doesn't hurt anybody, right? And the people who did more big things, they can, we can say they did these big things. And we can also give credit to all these other people. And we can look for reasons to, hey, I love that. And hey, I love that. It's generative, right? And the
Mm,
person was like, well, I think that, we shouldn't want to have thanks because the reward is, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm not talking about participation trophies.
right.
I'm not. I'm talking about helping people to acknowledge we're so good at talking about how people shouldn't do things and what they do wrong. We're very good at pointing out things that need correction and, oh, you missed a spot there. And I don't think either one of us, I know how hard you worked to edit your book. We're not
Hmm.
talking about publishing unready work.
Hmm.
But I am saying it got a lot easier to get to that point of that really good work because there were people surrounding you who were saying thank you and I really appreciate this and I really like that. It didn't make you think that everything was perfect. It helped you to clarify what was good and worth carrying forward.
Yes, exactly. And there is giving each other credit, acknowledging each other's creativity, and acknowledging each other's feedback and suggestions. I think it continues to increase the creativity in all of us. And again,
Mm-hmm.
creativity is not a pie. We can keep this growing and growing and growing, and then we can create this society where everybody is in their own creative flow, and the status quo can no longer hold, right? And
Mm,
I
right.
mean, there is this connection between the world we live in and our individual creative capacities. And if we
Right.
want to if we want to create a better world, we have to start in the smallest ways in our own lives
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just let that trickle onto other people. And pretty soon everyone's like, I'm creative. I mean, what's Black Lives Matter but a creative movement? What's March
Hmm.
for Our Lives but a creative movement? All of these
Right.
things come from an idea.
Right.
And ideas are that's what gives a society life.
And you know what? I am so grateful for the people who march. I love that for them.
Hmm.
I don't have to be a marcher. I
Hmm.
think that's the other thing. Like, oh, now I have to be a marcher and I'll feel guilty and bad about that. No, that's amazing. Now they're doing their thing. What can I do to riff off of that? What can I do to carry that energy forward? What can I do that is in my wheelhouse and my particular set of gifts as a little introvert who likes to sit and wordsmith?
Hmm.
What can I do to build on what they've already created? Because why should I start that over? They've already done that work. Nobody needs that. What does the world need me to do? And, going back to your book, you talk about how we come here with a soul mission in mind. Our soul knows what it's doing before we get here. It's agreements that we've made before we came into this world.
Hmm.
And for us not to do those things that we came to do is actually selfish.
It is, and it's devastating to our soul. I mean, there is an intricate connection between creativity and courage, right? And big acts of creativity ask a lot of courage. And these things that we're coming to Earth to do are not easy. They are meant to scare us. If we're not, what's that phrase? If we're not doing a few things every day that scare you, that's what we've got
We're
to
not
do.
growing.
And so you're right. It doesn't mean you have to go march, but there are other ways that you can tap into your courage and your creativity to create that same kind of energy in the world, to break something open, even if it's just somebody else's mind. This is what we're here to do. We're here to do scary things. We're here to make a difference. We're here to try things and make mistakes and get it all wrong and then pick ourselves up and try again. Like, this is what life is about, I think. And creativity is that is the door to that kind of life.
All I have to say is my life is a whole lot better since I started living that way.
Hmm.
So I'm going to agree with you 100%. I challenge people to, people. So you and I are full time creatives. Literally, that's what we both do. There's different expressions of that, but that's a choice that we have made, and we've spent years working on that. To someone who isn't that, because you and I have both been harried moms and many different things like that, I would say it starts in really small steps. And it starts in saying that little small step I took, that little step was something.
Hmm.
And I can do something.
And it could just be trying a new recipe at home. It could just be trying a new kind of outfit that you would never normally wear. That's an expression of creativity. I want to leave listeners with the understanding that creativity comes in so many forms, that it's not just painting, drawing, writing, singing, acting. There are so many ways for you to express your creativity, and you do have that. You do have a unique spark of creativity. It could just be the way you set a table, but
Mm.
there's something, right? And so you're talking about small steps, what is that one thing that you do that makes you feel good and that people, like you said earlier, that people appreciate and notice? That's
Mm.
it. That's the start.
And you show up and you try something, and it might shift on the way. That thing that you thought was bringing there might not be the thing at all. It might be a decoy just to get you on the path. So keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. And don't be afraid to fail. And I, create like we did when we were children, when it was
Hmm.
just for the joy of it.
Or if you had people like in my life, there was a lot of censorship when I was a kid.
Okay.
then maybe create for that child that never got to in the first place.
Yes, yes, that's beautiful.
Thanks for listening to Courageous Wordsmith. Today's episode featured Keri Mangus. You can read more about her and check out her links in the show notes. That's where you'll find my links too. Backstage at Courageous Wordsmith, our production team is the brilliant Brooke Roy and me, Amy Hallberg. You can subscribe to this podcast right on this page. Sign up for my emails and share with friends who want to write. And how about you? You have stories to tell. What if you let yourself tell them? What would that look like for you? I am Amy Hallberg, and until we meet again, travel safely.